You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
Bo Polny from Gold2020Forecast.com is on the line with us from California. Now, Bo, cycle work called for the silver top at $49 and the gold top at $1,900 back in 2011. The June 28th, 2013 gold bottom, the November 6th, 2014 bottom at $1,130, and most recently the March 16th bottom at $1,145 while speaking in Singapore. Bo, welcome back.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate you calling and appreciate being here again. Thank you.
I understand you recently spoke at a conference in Asia. Where was it and what was the mood there?
Middle of March, I was invited to come speak in Singapore at a mining convention or conference there. And then following Singapore, I was speaking at the Mines and Money Conference in Hong Kong. I'll tell you one thing, that Singapore is just a beautiful place, and there is definitely an amazing amount of industry and business going on in Singapore and then subsequently in Hong Kong. So extremely impressive and just an amazing industry of what's happening right now over there. And there's a lot of excitement and definitely no lack of interest in gold and silver over there. Everywhere you go, every store, every street sells gold and sells silver, especially gold. And at the conference I was basically, gold at that time was at $11.45, and I'm saying at the conference specifically that gold was expected to rise within a day or two and start making its next push higher. And the reason for that specifically was, number one, was timing. The time was set for gold to now move up. And secondly was price, because, as I mentioned, that was a higher low. So you had $1,130 in November of 2014. And then what you needed, and what's from a technical standpoint, we needed a higher low, and that came in at 1145 or 1143 right around the 16th of March. So that was roughly 2 weeks ago. Again, today being April 6th. And then off that point, gold has now reversed, and I believe it's trading about $70 higher, so right around $12.15 in that range, or $12.20 today.
Looking back at March 15th, did the Ides of March play any role in this?
Well, absolutely. I wrote another article right on the 15th, and it was published online, but basically the concept was that it's really strange, but that was going back from a functional standpoint of time. And again, when you do cycle work, you have to think outside the box. People in our world, we all think inside the box, and cycles basically think outside the box, because cycles, in essence, precede price movement. And so we were expecting a low at the Ides of March. That's when I was in Singapore speaking, and sure enough, the Ides of March played out perfectly. That technically was the middle of March. You had gold make a final higher low, and since then it's progressed and moved upwards, and it had a very impressive day today on Monday, April 6th. But the point being was that gold has moved up off the 15th of the Ides of March, and secondly, the U.S. dollar went up to, I believe it was like 100 and something, and it topped, and it has since been in a down cycle, and so I believe they're inversely proportional. So the dollar is now set to progress downwards off the 15th of the Ides of March, and gold is set to now move up off that specific point in time in the middle of March.
Do silver and gold top at the same time?
Well, I expect now a move in gold to the upside. Specifically, the date is for my subscribers, but I have a very, very specific date in time going forward into the year 2015 here. It's a very important time in the cycle. Silver will top first, and then it will be followed by a secondary top in gold, which will come secondary. So silver will top first, and then gold will top second. And again, this is a very critical and very important cycle timing point coming here into the future. And again, it will be here in and about summertime. But again, specifically timing points I give to my subscribers.
The U.S. dollar has run up 25% in the past year. What do you see happening to it now?
Well, again, anything that goes up must come down, as the saying goes. The dollar based off my cycle work, should have topped. We now, and not it should have, but I really know that it has topped. The dollar from this point will be progressing downwards, and so if it's done a 25% rise, don't be surprised if we have a very significant reversal down to the downside. It's not going to happen just yet. I still expect I expect some downwards pressure in the dollar into probably this Wednesday, the 8th, and then I expect a reversal back up for a short period of time, and then a push back down again. But basically, the dollar should be in what's called a bear trend, which would specifically include lower lows and lower highs. And then it's going to have a very aggressive drop again before summer. There's a specific time point that we have for that, and that will also be very positive for both gold and silver.
And I guess if we have American listeners to our program, if you're booking a trip to Canada, pay for it now?
Well, I get, yeah, you got to look at that. You got to look at your trades, right? So, yeah, well, right now you've got the dollar, U.S. dollar being strong and the Canadian dollar being weak, so that would be correct.
We'll have more with Bo Polny right after this.
More and more people are looking to the Internet for intelligent, riveting, and thought-provoking interviews. To advertise on The Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com, call 604-699-8600, 604-699-8600.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Bo Polny of Gold2020Forecast.com. Bo, what do you see happening with oil?
I specifically watch the markets of gold and silver, but I do like to sometimes check the other markets, and I've run the oil cycle looking at that. And when I was in Cambridge House in January, I did a presentation and also did an interview, and it's available should be online as a YouTube video. And I was basically specifically talking about oil, or mentioned it. And oil typically bottoms after gold. So usually several months. So we had gold come in at a bottom in November. Oil should have bottomed late January into February, and then usually makes a secondary low, which would have been right in March. So we should see lows right here on the oil. That's just my take on it. And then following that, since oil is a commodity just like gold and silver, we should have upwards reversals now on oil and specifically, gold and silver, but oil should be moving along with oil should be moving along with gold and silver to the upside and upward direction now.
Do you have cycles for platinum, palladium, and copper?
Platinum, cycle, and copper and palladium, all of them, again, are up cycles right now, too. So everything is reversed off lows, and everything is up. Copper should do very well, I believe, here, too. But, yeah, all of metals, including gold, silver, copper, palladium, platinum, and oil, should now be in all upward cycles.
What's a scheduled coincidence, and do you see any for 2015?
Absolutely. We've got scheduled coincidences coming up. Let me explain what a coincidence is. If you look at the Webster's definition, it's a situation in which events happen at the same time in a way that is not planned. That's key or expected. Okay, so let's go to some coincidences that have happened over the past many years, going back, say, starting at 21 years. So in 1980, gold went up to $873, and then exactly 21 years later, it came into a cycle low, $255. Then the next cycle was 7 years into the year 2008, and gold topped out at $1,033. Then 3.5 years, half of 7 years later, gold went up and topped at $1,900. Following $1,900 in 2011, you go another 3.5 years forward, and we get to November 2014. Well, what happened last November? Gold bottomed at $1,130, and silver bottomed 21 trading days later at $14. And then from September of 2000. and 11. We run also a 21-year cycle, and then a 21-month cycle from September of 2011. 21 months later, we get to June 2013, and a cycle bottom at 1179 that we had called as well, too. And then another 21 months later, the final bottom arrived, which was the Ides of March, which we spoke of just a few minutes ago, when gold was at 1145 and silver was at 1550 at that time point, again, the Ides of March. So the point of a coincidence, and like I mentioned at the conference, was how many coincidences does it take before a coincidence is no longer a coincidence, but in fact occurring by design? So that's the point, and the key is that it's by design, and this is called thinking outside of the box. And so if we go to understanding that, okay, so those are a whole bunch of crazy coincidences, okay, that was just luck, okay, sure, but how many points of coincidence of luck do you need before you start wondering, well, is it more than just luck? And so looking forward from where we are today, let's look forward. And so what could some of the scheduled coincidences be going into 2015? So let's talk about that. Point one is we have gold and silver are going to make a cycle high in and about summertime. Specific time points I will be giving, our 4 subscribers, but that is the point, is we still have a cycle high for gold and silver. Silver will outperform gold and the mining stocks into the top. And the third point would be the U.S. dollar gets hit significantly, again, into and before summer of 2015. So those are some of the key cycle points going immediately forward. And then after that, we've got a downward cycle on gold, silver, especially, those two metals, or the mining stocks as well, temporarily, and then it's going to go back up off a low. But right now, the concern is between here and going forward into spring, summer, and then into a point of summer for a cycle point high. And I hope I've answered your question there.
How do people subscribe to your newsletter?
My webpage is gold2020forecast.com. And for this week, if anybody's interested in getting some specific cycle work, they can send me an email, again, at gold2020forecast@aol.com, and I will send them some private cycle work that we're doing for this week relative to gold and silver, and give them a little bit more insight as to some of the coincidences that we're expecting going forward here.
Bo, thanks a lot for chatting with us.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for calling, Tom.
My guest has been Bo Polny of gold2020forecast.com. You're listening to HowStreet.com radio. Find us on Twitter at Talk Digital Net. Our YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. Comments about the show can be sent to info@HowStreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.